here to talk today about standards and some specific standards that go into archiving. A little bit about what we've done and what we may do at the library, and also some notes on thinking about how to build and maintain a data set. Because let me start by canvassing the room from the very beginning. How many of you are archiving audiovisual content of some sort? Excellent. How many of you believe that your content has an expiration date? Expiration date, really? And if so, what are those expiration dates in general terms? Shout one out.
The end of the Republic plus 50 years.
Well, if you said 4,000 years, then you would have been from the National Archives and Records Administration. But please work. Close enough. May I? Would you mind? Apparently, the dual monitor doesn't like me today. All right. So, I taught a workshop on Wednesday, and one of the first questions I asked was, how many of you believe that the work that you're doing today, the content that you're producing today, is eventually going to be erased? How much of it do you think is going to be erased? And just about everybody in the room said, nothing, never, ever. And so one of the things that is part of my job is I have to think about sustainability. How do we not create with digital assets of all the work that we're doing, how do we not repeat the mistakes of history? And so one of the things that I've been concerned about over the last several years, and certainly at this year's conference, has been hearing about, why are there standards? People don't even seem to understand why there are standards. And the quick answer for that is those who do not learn from history are condemned to repeat it. But what I really mean by that is the reason that we have to go through so many hoops and we have so many formats to deal with, that we have so much work to do, and in some cases we have content that we're never going to be able to reproduce. Part of the reason is because very motivated people who thought they were solving a problem 20, 30, 40, 60 years ago, they created a format that was not universally adopted and was not sustainable over time. And so part of what we at least need to think about, and part of the reason we have standards, is to make sure that we can enhance interoperability, exchangeability, and the ability to make sure that the data sets that we're creating will last more than the next 5 to 10 years. Part of the challenge that we've run into is some of the earliest files, especially some of the earliest MPEG-2 files, we're already having problems playing those files because they were created with custom code very early in the MPEG-2 era. With that custom code came decisions that folks made that mean that that content cannot be easily played in this era. And so we're already seeing 20 years into the digital era, we're already seeing problems with survivability over the long term. And so that's really what I'm here to talk about, big picture wise. What's it all about, Alfie? Why are we here? Why are we doing this? And I want to preface this by saying I understand not only having my own personal data set, my own personal media set. I do oral histories. I've been in media for 35 years, and I have a fairly substantial collection myself. Knowing that there are a substantial number of folks who do not have the resources of the Library of Congress or other large cultural institutions needs to be part of what those of us who are at those cultural institutions, and those of us especially like me who sit on standards committees, who sit on implementation committees, make sure that at some point we can make the technologies that we help to create as widespread and as low cost as possible, because otherwise why are we going through all of this if we're leaving a substantial portion of our brethren behind? And so if we accept for a moment that some of our archiving principles are, whenever possible, with sufficient funding, there are caveats here, our goal is to do no harm. In other words, to take the content and reproduce it as close to the original as we can. We need to be able to do that, if that's our goal. If our goal is just to do whatever's best, well, that's fine, that's your goal. But for those of us, especially at the Library of Congress, where we have, we have copyright to deal with, we have, Hollywood to deal with, we need to be able to do things the best that we can, given the funding that we have. And that's always a balancing act for everybody. That's always a balancing act. We have to do the job that we have to do with the funding that we have. Over time also, we need to learn the term, if you haven't learned it already, the term fixity. In other words, to be able to tell that the data set that we have created and the data set that we're trying to save, that it survives over time and that we can validate that it has survived over time, to know that that data has in fact not changed. And then we need to think about longevity. In other words, how do you save that content potentially for hundreds of years and still have our future selves be able to play it back? And so, as both an engineer and a technician and someone who's been in production, I think about things like this because that's part of my job, and I have to think in terms of, okay, if our goal is 100 years or 500 years, how many in the room think that their content might last or need to last, if all was right with the world, at least 500 years? The content should last 500 years if we could make it happen. So the question now becomes, how do we design the data set that you're working with for survivability? This is temporal survivability. Not only do we need to play it today, we need to be able to do it in an affordable way, but we need to be able